guys, welcome to the channel. For you subscribers, welcome back to the channel. Really appreciate that. Today I'm going to be doing a review and comparison from my recently obtained Kawasaki Concours 14. It's a 2008 with 19,000 miles on it. And I'll compare it somewhat to my 2005 Honda Goldwing GL1800. I have about 20,000 miles on it now. I've owned it about 3 years. So not really an apples versus apples comparison, of course. The Goldwing being a touring machine and the Concours as a sport touring machine. But I can't help to compare because in the past I've had an FJR1300. It was a 2015 with like 3,000 miles on it. Then after that I had a 2014 BMW K1600GTL, and I compared both those bikes to my Goldwing. What I'm really looking for, I love my Goldwings. I've had them for 35 years in one form or another, but always wanted more performance, more horsepower. Goldwing's rated at 125, the new ones are 130, 1,000-pound bike. To me, that's just not enough. Love my Goldwings, just never have had enough horsepower. I know a lot of guys say, oh, they've got plenty. I've always loved acceleration. I like my luxury touring, but I also like to have fun. And the BMW was good for that, but I hated the seat on that bike and a couple other things. But you can check out my review on this stuff. I got reviews on all of it. But just wish the Goldwing had about 40 more horsepower. So I'm always looking for something that I can still cruise a decent distance, but yet have some horsepower. So that's why today I'm trying out the Concours 14. 157 horsepower, right? Compared to 125 on the Goldwing, and about 250 pounds difference in weight. So here they are, both together. I like the looks of both bikes. Goldwing to me is, you know, it's a decent looking bike, no doubt about it. Kawasaki Concours, this is a 2008, like I said, so, you know, definitely not the newer one, but they haven't really changed them much. Still does not have electronic cruise control. Kawasaki missed the whole boat on that deal. That's why I believe the FJR just kills the Concours in sales, because the FJR's had cruise control, electronic cruise control, since 2013. Cracks me up because Kawasaki says, well, it just costs way too much money to make everything electronic, fly-by-wire, and that to put cruise on it. We just don't sell enough of them. Well, maybe you would sell enough of them if you had electronic cruise control to compete with the Yamaha FJR. But I guess that's a whole nother subject. Anyway, of course, one of the advantages to the Concours and the FJR and the BMW is you can remove the luggage. And on this bike, it takes like a minute, right? And that's probably the way I'll ride it most times, is without the luggage. I already did an initial review on this bike. You can check it out on my channel if you want. But today I'm going to do more of an extensive review on it. And again, I'll compare it a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit, to the Goldwing, simply because they are both touring machines, supposedly. I can tell you I already love the horsepower of the Concours. That satisfies my need for acceleration, whereas this, not so much. It's adequate, but not great. And Honda will never change that. Honda's way too conservative of a company when it comes to horsepower. They always have been. But as far as comfort, man, hard to beat, right? So I'll get suited up, get my jacket and brain bucket on, and we'll go for a ride. Thanks for hanging in there. So I thought maybe I should show you guys how the luggage comes off of the Concours. Which brings me to this being the key fob. Kawasaki uses, I think they call it the K-Pass system. I don't remember for sure. Anyway, you have to, it's a proximity safety ignition cut out. You have to have this on you within a few feet. I keep it in here usually, but as long as you have it within that distance of the bike. So to start it, with this within range, push down on this, turn it on, and hit your start button, and she fires up. But also within this key fob is a key. So you have to flip this. Sorry, got to put you down for a minute. Then you take the key out, which came out of there. To get the luggage off, simply push the key in, turn it, lift this up, then just lift up on the handle and whole pannier, and there you go. You're done. It's got 3 contact points. Here, here, and here, which is here, here, right here. And to reinstall it, just the opposite way. Lock it, pull the key out, good to go. Simple. One thing I really wanted to make sure I mentioned in this video is the clutch. When I went to look at this bike, I did take it on a test ride before I finalized everything. I gave the guy cash in hand, which is customary, but I was only able to ride it a couple of blocks because it was right in the middle of a city. And I couldn't really give it a lot of gas, and I couldn't go up, through the gears like I normally would. But everything seemed fine, so anyway, I finalized the deal, got it home. Next day, took it for a ride. Everything was fine until I got up to 3rd gear. I was accelerating pretty hard, and at the end of 3rd gear, the clutch slipped. Then when I hit 4th, man, it really slipped, and I thought, oh, that's great. Now I get to spend my time and money replacing the clutch plates, which I would have done myself, but then I got to thinking, wait a minute, this bike's only got 19,000 miles on it. It doesn't look like it's beat to death. That's a little strange. So to make a long story short here, and I also did make a video, my first video on this bike prior to this one. I talked extensively about what the issue was, so you guys might want to check that video, and you'll hear the engine rev. You'll hear it slipping, the clutch slipping. Anyway, long story short, in this video, here's what it was, guys. This thing had these short clutch levers on them, aftermarket, and after checking a few other things, I decided, you know what, the guy gave me the original one, so I'm going to swap it back for the heck of it, and that solved the whole problem. This clutch is perfect now. The whole reason it was slipping was because of these aftermarket shorty clutch lever, and which supposedly is made for Concours, right? No matter how you adjust it, didn't make any difference at all. The clutch would still slip like crazy. I suspect it's not machined right in here where this hits the clutch tab. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know, and please, if you guys have heard of this before or experienced it yourself, leave me a comment. I had never heard of a clutch lever causing that kind of issue. Here's the manufacturer, MZ, what is that? MZS. But irregardless, please leave me a comment if you've experienced it yourself or have even just heard of it. I'd appreciate that. Okay folks, the first thing I want to talk about is the seat on this Concours. And that's because that's been a major issue with all the bikes I've tried. Of course, I'm used to my Goldwing seat, which I can ride all day long. I can put hundreds of miles on. Does my butt get sore? Well, yeah, sure it does. But it doesn't get sore to the point to where I have to stop riding. I have to stop every 20 minutes or so to take a break. So the seat on this Concours reminds me a lot of the FJR1300. That bike, when I got it, had the Corbin on it, but I got the original with it, so I swapped them, and I really couldn't see a huge difference between the Corbin and the stock. So let's talk about just the stock seats. Decent seat on the FJR and decent seat on this Concours. I've ridden it 120 miles at a time, and I do get some pain and some numbness, nothing terrible. The only one I could say that was terrible was the stock seat on my 2014 BMW K1600 GTL. I've read reviews where guys love that stock seat on their GTL. I couldn't handle it. After 20 minutes, I was ready to get off. At 30 minutes, I was completely numb. It's a nut cruncher. I refused to spend $1,200 on a seat for that bike, and a couple other things that I thought it would need. So I sold that bike. So seat's a major thing with me, because I don't want to get on a bike and ride 20 minutes. If I get on a bike, I want to ride all day. That's just me. And by the way, when I do reviews, I give my opinion, my honest opinion, on the bike that I own. Now, some of you may own the Concours, some of you may own an FJR and totally disagree with me. Well, you know what? Your bike, even though it might be exactly like mine, is different because it's the one you own. I can only give a review on how I feel about my bikes. So don't be offended and give me negative comments that I'm putting down your bike, because I'm not putting down your bike, because I've never ridden your bike. Well, that went on way too long. And now I'm stuck here waiting. Anyway, this seat is nothing like the Goldwing seat. The stock seat on the Goldwing for me is fine. A lot of guys take issues with the Goldwing seat, and they end up spending $1,000, $1,200, $1,400, whatever, on different seat for those. Everybody's got a different butt, right? But just my opinion is, this seat and the FJR are very similar. 100 miles at a time, no issue. My BMW seat sucked, and I like my Goldwing seat the best. So next, let's talk about ride quality. I'm kind of surprised that this Concours rides this good. It takes bumps good. There's no harsh banging going on like some sport cruisers or other bikes. It's not as cush a ride, of course, as the Goldwing, and why should it be? Well, I wouldn't even want it to be. This is considered a sport tourer. So ride quality, I think, as far as not having any serious jolts or that, I think ride quality is a little better on this than the FJR, but I think the handling was better. Handling on corners is better with the FJR than this. Goldwing handling for what that bike is, touring bike, pretty darn good. You guys that have Goldwings know this. Kind of surprising how well that bike handles, being it's 1,000 pounds, how well it'll take curves. This has some aftermarket items, like you already know, the windshield extension. That's a stock windshield, I believe, with the extension on it, and I like that extension. That's fine. If I was going to keep this bike, if I decide to keep it, I would probably put a different windshield on it, a bigger windshield. This also has a Musi slip-on, which Musi, I guess, is no longer in business. Hasn't been for quite a few years, but I think somebody else bought them out. Anyway, it's not too loud. It's actually just about right. I like it. I like louder bikes, even my Goldwing. I did an exhaust modification. You can see that review of how I did that on my channel if you like. For $11, you can make yourself an adjustable exhaust on that bike. $11 in a little bit of time. No big deal. Check out that review. I'll tell you what, I'm already looking for the cruise control. I'm cruising at 65 mile an hour and just went for the cruise control. So, FJR, big advantage there. Everybody knows that. But on the other hand, these Concours, they've got enough torque that It's easy to hold a steady speed, or easier than a lower displacement bike, because it does have some torque. So it's, you know, it's not affected so much by a hill that comes along or wind or something like that, I guess I'm saying. It's pretty easy to hold a steady speed, but I don't like speeding tickets. Haven't had one for 35 years, and one of the reasons for that is because I use cruise control on everything I own that has it. So let's talk about brakes a little bit. I don't like the rear brake on this bike. I've checked it out. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not that it needs bled or anything like that. The pads are fairly new. It's just you got to push pretty hard to get it to stop with the rear brake. The front brakes are excellent, as the front brakes were excellent with the FJR. The front brakes were really excellent, but touchy on the BMW. I have no issue with the brakes on my Goldwing, so all is good there. So let's talk about the windshield a little bit, I guess. That's one thing with the Goldwing that's kind of always bothered me. There's a lot of wind buffeting with a Goldwing. You Goldwing owners know that. I put a windshield on it aftermarket that's 5 inches taller and 3 inches wider, and I still get buffeting behind that windshield. I guess you need to buy wings for down by the mirrors or something to get rid of the buffeting on those Goldwings. I haven't done that. You can see the Goldwing owners know this, that you get some buffeting with a Goldwing, which really shouldn't be there because it is supposed to be a premium touring motorcycle, but you know. But I have no issues with this windshield, except I would buy a little bit bigger one if I was going to keep it. If I decide to keep it, that's what I might do. So my main thing about these touring motorcycles, sport touring and that, is acceleration. Like I mentioned, that's one area where my Goldwing has always been lacking. Every Goldwing I've owned has been lacking. The new ones are lacking. I'll get a lot of argument with guys because a lot of guys just love their Goldwings and they think that that new DCT, that bike just accelerates like crazy. Well, those guys are fine with the performance of that bike, and I understand that completely. But I like the quicker stuff. I don't necessarily need to go 150 mile an hour, but I do like the faster acceleration. That adds to the fun factor for me, the whole riding experience. So it's important, and nobody offers performance upgrades for a Goldwing. For one thing, on Hondas, it's usually pretty hard to crack the ECU codes, and even if a tuner does it, you can't gain a lot of horsepower. I mean, you know, the Goldwing's 1800cc with like 9.5 to 1 compression. Well, that should tell you something right there. Red line's at 6,000 RPM. You know, to get some horsepower, you're going to have to get the RPMs up on that. I think the Beamer red line's at like 8,500, but it falls on its face after 7,200. But that bike's got like 12.2 to 1 compression. This is a higher compression engine, I think 1,340 something cc's. It is not, I repeat, it is not the ZX14R motor. They're similar, and that's it. This has variable valve timing, which is kind of cool because the acceleration is pretty linear. I mean, it doesn't have a place where it gets to like 6,000 RPM and then it's like somebody threw a whole nother engine in. It's not like that as much as some of the other stuff is. It's pretty much just pulls like a freight train from a few thousand RPM all the way up to 10,000 RPM. And I think it's a little quicker than my FJR was. Like I said, this has the Musi slip-on. I don't think it adds any horsepower, maybe one, right? It adds more noise. The FJR I had Delcovics, twin Delcovic slip-ons. Same way with it. I don't think it adds any horsepower, not enough to speak of, but you know, you'd have to get an ECU flash to do that. But I like the way this thing pulls. I think it's a little quicker than the FJR. Maybe not quite as quick as that BMW. That was rated at 160 horsepower. I think that bike was a little quicker. All of them so much quicker than the Goldwing. But one thing I have noticed, and I noticed instantly about this Concours, is the abrupt change from off throttle back to on throttle. And I did some research on that, and that's what the guys like Ivan and what is it, should have been, that's what they correct with those ECU flashes, is they make it so when you let off the throttle it doesn't completely shut down the injectors. Now I didn't notice quite as much on the FJR, that transition, but on this, it's bad, man. If you're trying to go around a corner and you're letting off the gas and then you try to get back on, it's abrupt. You got to be careful. So that's definitely a down with this. Again, if I was keeping it, I would probably send the ECU off and have it flashed. I think Ivan's and should have been are like 300 or 350 bucks, and they correct all that, and then they add a little horsepower. I don't think the horsepower gain is much. I want to say like 6 or 8 horsepower. You guys can correct me in the comments. Here's another thing I'd like you guys to comment on if you can. I tried to get on just a couple days ago. I tried to find should have been and Ivan's website, and I couldn't find them. Did they both go to Facebook? I'm one of those that refuses to go on Facebook, or I refuse to sign up for Facebook. But have those guys gone off the internet, no longer have a website, and just use Facebook? Guys, answer me in the comments, will you? I tried all the search engines I have, and the only thing I could find for those guys, both of them, were just Facebook accounts. So let me know, will you? So another thing that's a pet peeve of mine, this bike does not have self-canceling turn signals. But she pulls good, man. That's the fun factor I'm talking about. That's the kind of power you need on a Goldwing. And that'll never happen. And they no longer make the Concours, so we can pretty much forget about Kawasaki ever adding cruise control to it. I think, what was it, 2022 was the last year for the Concours? Now, maybe they'll come out with it again, who knows, but I doubt it. So it's a fun sport cruiser, guys. Really enjoying the ride. I think by the time today's over, I'll probably have put about 400 miles on this bike, and 0 issues, of course. Starts, runs perfect. Love the engine. It's smooth. Good roll-on power. 80 miles an hour. I'm cranking 3,500 RPMs, so that's good. It's a fun ride. Haven't decided whether I'm going to keep this one or not yet. This has 2-inch risers on the handlebars. I think it would be perfect if I could get 2-inch back also, but I don't think anybody offers that because of this glove box being in the way. I read that somewhere, that you can only get them to come back like 3/4 of an inch because they'll hit this. Well, the way I mean, if you look at it, that makes sense, right? Look at the distance here. that's what I'm talking about. That's what you miss when you ride a Goldwing. Okay guys, that's going to be about it for this review, or comparison review. Appreciate you watching. Check out my other motorcycle reviews. Got a lot of them now. A lot of Harleys, Kawasaki, Yamaha. Had a Victory Hammer, did a review on that. Honda, you know, a lot of different stuff on there. Check out my animal videos. I run trail cameras, have a lot of unique animal videos on my channel. Some crazy animal stuff that I've collected over the course of 13 years. Check out my tractors and equipment. I've done reviews on leaf vac, stump grinder, Kubota with grapple. Got a backhoe for that one too. I just added a new playlist, and that's firearms. I've done my 357 Magnum, my 44 Magnum. Just did my Colt Diamondback in 38 Special. I'll be adding more to that. So yeah, just a lot of fun things. Check it out if you like. I'd appreciate it.